So, just starting out, crypto AI has been this big, bu- I don't like to use the buzzword, but like big space of mindshare in the crypto space in general for a long time. But Himanshu, as well as a bunch of other builders in the space, they have been in and around AI for like years now, right? So a question that I always have for people who have like been in and around now seen this kind of shift happening is like at what point of time were you really convinced that this can be a thing, right? There must have been some inflection point in your mind or in your thought process where you said, um, crypto is coming to a point where it can be used with these AI systems, and that's going to really matter in the future.
Right. So, in my case, I was doing witness chain, and I suddenly jumped to this startup. And the reason being that Sandeep, I, Pramod, one of the discussion we were completely passionately going into was how this AI will start coordinating humans. Rather than, so most of the people are talking about how to control AI. From day one, I feel that don't worry about controlling AI, worry about the 99% of the humans who are waiting to be controlled by AI. And how would that AI be, and how would that AI interact with humans? I feel it's a generational technology. It's like social media, the next avatar of it. And now we all know that social media is not just a profile, it's your enter into the political arena, it's your gateway to your aspirations. So that's social media, and that whole substrate will now have AI sitting in it, and it's an omnipresent technology. Not only there, it's a gateway to your search engine, gateway to your emails, gateway to all your data. I think this is completely crazy. Anyone who is not jumping into this is, I guess they have very good conviction about where they are right now.
No, I think I completely agree. I feel like speaking about the controlled by AI part, right? You're already seeing these AI meme coins now tipping and dropping money into people's pockets. So you're already seeing that shift happening where all the crowds are finding new digital gods, to say the least. But no, this is really interesting. And I think on the point of foundational technology, so I used to be an investor earlier. And the one thing I was always told is there will be 3 to 4 waves in your life that matter, right? In terms of technology, in terms of where society is going. And most value that's created in your lifetime will be captured in these 3 to 4 waves. And you have to be lucky enough to identify one of those waves to really make something meaningful in life. I truly believe that AI is going to be one of them. I also believe crypto is going to be one of them. So I think that the fact that you have the ability to build in these two converging technologies is the most the most exciting thing I've seen in a long time, at least. But like switching gears a little bit, this is like AI itself is like in its current form been there for about 2 3 years, right? People are still getting comfortable with the idea of LLMs and everything that's happening, and everything consistently changes. Similarly, crypto, as we all know, constantly keeps changing as well. So a lot of times people struggle with just maintaining structure on how to think about crypto AI as a category, right? Like what are the different ways or the different like in a market map, where do people think sit on the stack? What is important, what is not, what is here already versus what's likely to come in the future. So Himanshu, what's your mental model? Because as Sentient, you're a core player in the space and you interact with different parts of the stack. How do you think about the category that way?
I've always struggled to think of crypto as product. I find a easier mental model to think of it as some kind of movement, some kind of mission. That's an easier mental model. There are very strange principles that will apply to crypto products. For instance, one of the principle I like is that a crypto product succeeds when it's used for things beyond what it is designed for. So that's like if you think of Pump.Fun, what happened there a few weeks back. Maybe some malice, but I don't think that's what they were designing it for. That's the madness of any chaotic progressive technology. That so this traditional PMF manner may work. Few technologies have found PMF in crypto, but after a long cycle, right? For instance, L2s at some point found a PMF. A very simple idea that transactions are expensive on Ethereum, so you want cheaper transactions. Even that business model could not sustain for a very long time. So I don't take the view of product that way in crypto. I take a view of what can you take out to people which they will enjoy, and what is the mission that you are aligned with. I feel that in crypto it's important to have a mission and a vision like that, and that's why academics like me also love crypto, very similar to an academic thing. but turbocharged with this kind of attention and this kind of economic forces. So now, concretely to your point about what's going on AI, crypto, I agree, it's very chaotic. But at the same time, if you think of it simply, the reason it's chaotic is because everything is more or less pedestal, right? Everyone is doing roughly the same thing. There are few hard problems to solve, but otherwise everyone is doing roughly the same thing, and at the end you start reaching the same level. Uh, there is a pressure not only on crypto AI but also on open AI, right? You saw Sam's tweet yesterday, right? That he wants to ship every week. Every week for 12 weeks now there'll be a feature announcement. Basically, this is pressure. He's reacting to it, and I think it's such a fast-moving technology in terms of uh, products, not so much in terms of the underlying substrate. So I guess what you guys are building in terms of agentic framework, whatever you are doing, I think it's the cutting edge. There's nothing hidden there.
No, I think that's a very good point, right? And I think just the compounding of shipping velocity across the board, because in crypto AI we're not competing with other crypto AI companies, we're also competing with Anthropic, where who suddenly will put out a new messaging framework that is 10x better than what was there, the baseline before. So I think there's just never a dull day in terms of what we do. So I think we were just talking about this off stage, but when we started building our companies and ideating about the space, there was a lot of skepticism of this one particular point, is that why does AI really need crypto, right? And it's a skepticism that still exists today, rightly so in a lot of situations. But I'm curious, like, one, how do you think about it today? And what do you think, how has that perception changed since maybe ETH India last year to where we are today? Or IBW last year to where we are today?
Right. So there are fundamental reasons why AI needs crypto. Like one of the reasons which I feel is quite important is the improvement of AI itself will happen when AI starts interacting with AI, and this kind of interaction happening with crypto is the right way to do it. But all this was very theoretical last year when we were talking about, like Sentient was talking about loyal AI, and we were saying there'll be this AI that has to be loyal to the community that's building it, and it was all theoretical. But over the last 3 months, at least one notion of loyalty is very clear to people, which is this ownership. So platforms like virtuals, which are designed around AI, which has its own token and can launch its own token and can reward to its community, you want that AI to be loyal to the contributors of the data or whatever contributions you are making, in the sense that it doesn't rug pull them. So that's where all these crypto pieces, at least for ownership points, start coming. So for Sentient, that clarity we had early on, and for us, this first notion of loyalty is the ownership itself. But for us, our interest is on the model rather than the RAG and the data, the contribution that are sitting on it. We believe these models are billion-dollar assets which grow over time, 5 years, 6 years. Llama 4 will be a $7 billion asset, and they grow over time. And people who contribute to them, we want them to make generational wealth out of them. Just like previous generation of people made generational wealth out of Bitcoin, and where you had to at least know some compute, set up the nodes. Here, the contributions you need to make are about improving the model performance itself, improving those agents itself. So we are looking towards a world where these models will last 5 years, 6 years, and keep on growing continuously, and people who have been contributing to them own those assets. To enforce this kind of ownership, in a very open, decentralized manner, there's no other way. And there are many ways to go about it. The part which we are looking at Sentient is focusing on how the model itself can be controlled. Because model has nothing to do with blockchain. It's sitting somewhere outside. It has its weights. Someone can just copy this whole asset and run away with it. So how do you actually control the model itself? That's the research focus we have, because we want to see the models grow into several billion-dollar assets.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point you bring up, right? Because AI models are some of the few software resources that have high capex, and crypto, what it does really well is capital formation, right? But you can't do capital formation on something that someone can copy for free. So how do you maintain those systems that you have in financial speak? You have like a net present value of future cash flows for that particular model if you want to treat it as an asset. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important areas of where crypto is important, and also where AI is going to face this reckoning, because Like there are like only 3 or 4 companies that can afford to build models today. So if you want to create a more distributed suite of models you want to offer customers building on top of AI, you need to figure out how to kind of get these two systems to marry together, right? I think another area personally where I feel decentralized systems in general, which usually are supported by crypto, matter, is trust assumptions, right? Because the issue oftentimes is that it's not just about malicious actors, but it's lack of quality control at scale. I think some of these players who we know very well in like data labeling and that sort have seen that they have a call center in India, a call center in Africa, where those people now suddenly are misaligned to what the original vision of the company is. And what systems like blockchains do really well is allow you to keep all these distributed nodes aligned towards a particular purpose. Like Ethereum validators have a risk of actually losing assets if they don't continue to validate blocks in a fair manner and a bunch of these things that matter. And I think coordination at scale using these trust assumptions that break it to like fundamental building blocks is also where I think crypto can really, really play an important role. You know, just as we dive into more about crypto AI, I want to touch a little bit on what's been like the biggest consumer level thing that's happened in crypto AI, right? Which is AI agents. We've been talking about AI agents for a long time, and the Web2 world has been talking about AI agents for a long time. But I think after Truth Terminal really came out, it captured the imagination of what is possible in crypto. I'm curious, what's your take on like where it is today? Where do you see these current AI agent companies really move? Like, do they move more on the application side with functionality? Do they start going downstream and trying to capture more of that infrastructure? I'm just curious how you think about it.
Right. Specifically social agents, right? Those are the agents which have taken over. What surprised me about social agents is that the quality needed was so low. And if you have been building agents for a while and you would assume that they need to be at some level before people start engaging with them. But this is like some shitty software which just says some random things and people are clapping because it has a meme coin with it. Like GOAT is already 800 million now. So yeah, again, as I said, crypto surprises you. So I think this is just the beginning because even Virtual's platform, I like that platform. It's designed in a very nice, clean way. You can contribute to the agents, and you can get rewarded when the agents are used. As simple as that, right? Which is a narrative which you would have heard several times. And they are just showing that this one works. You have to directly go to retail for this one. But it's just the beginning. From Sentient side, I'm more interested in more sophisticated agents, agents that will make your life over the internet easier, agents that have more utility than these ones. But they are obviously giving us a design space, and they have made something concrete which was very murky, I think, before them. So that's what I like these for. The trust assumptions there are a little bit broken right now. It's just the beginning of that. So a lot of projects working in TEE, like Teleport, they will talk about verifying let's say, some rules. Let's say, so for example, he, this agent, what it verifies is that the Twitter login is done from TEE, so that there's no human who can log into the Twitter account. So that's what they verify. There are many things like that. The other projects which are in MPC and ZKOP, all these are talking about verification. For us, one piece which is left is this verification, and everything happens outside the model itself. There is no way to control the model. The model itself is a llama model. And you can't say, why did the model say that? You're just verifying that the model said the right thing. Now imagine you build this completely autonomous agents, and they are serving the model. There is no way to stop what the model says. For these agents, all you will do with this security layer is verify that you did what the model said. So the piece that we want to work on is controlling the model's output itself, so that some basic alignment of the model remains. That's the whole trust piece, which I'm very excited about. I think this you will see coming up in the next 1 year. I would say Eliza, for instance, already put in a plugin for TEE. So this is just happening now.
Yeah, I think this reminds me of a quote that I've seen recently. Is that any sufficiently novel technology looks no different than magic, right? And we often underestimate, especially as people building in the space, that most people are not exposed to the degree of AI that exists. Like, interacting with ChatGPT is one thing, but things that models can do today, which is like autonomously use tools and a bunch of these different things, are still just scratching the surface and have not even reached a broader audience like what software has reached. So I think all of you guys here are like in store for things that will look like magic from the AI world across the board over the next few years, right? So, so I think based on that, the other thing I want to talk about was building a crypto company in general has this notion that you're effectively building a public company at a seed stage, where your product is not just your actual product, but you also have to deliver on the value of your token, right? Now, mature companies who are IPO stage, etc., they have a set product that's making money and a bunch of things, and then they have to do quarterly results to achieve that. I think in crypto, especially in crypto AI, where these research projects and research experiments take years to kind of come to fruition. How are you guys, and I don't know if you guys will have a token or not, but like how does a crypto company really think through that when they're building and competing with AI companies at that point?
That's what I said, that the better mental model for a crypto company is a vision and a mission. And I'm not thinking in this manner that how do I right away serve everybody, right? All the people who want to, I don't owe anyone, anybody, right, anybody, anything right now. I only this mission and this vision. And basically, Sentient is a community of people who want to use and build loyal AI. And you should worry about this. You should try to build and use loyal AI. I don't know. I have a 9-year-old, and she's very AI native, like any kid now. So she has Claude, OpenAI, all the accounts already set up. And she can build some tic-tac-toe already. We did it in, at least I built it in high school or college. And she doesn't know that code can be written. She thinks you just ask it and it does it. And it's like, this is so stupid, can't do it. In this world where these kids are living on TikTok, Twitter, and these coding agents, these are your kids. This is a very serious problem about what their aspirations will be. Like, that you are going after, oh, I have 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, but these followers maybe are just bots. And your whole aspirations, imagine your Twitter account gets wiped off 50,000 followers overnight. I'm sure this is like a catastrophic event for any person in crypto. So I'm more worried about that kind of problems, and so the people who should align with the project like ours are those who also worry about those problems, and nothing else. So I think that's the right mental model, rather than thinking how can we serve up, rather than thinking of it as a public company. In fact, I feel that this community part of crypto is the unique part of crypto, right? That's why it attacks the social problems. That's why on day one we start thinking of social problems. And there is a chaos. Crypto is chaos. Like any progress happens in chaos. If there's no chaos, there's no progress. This city, if you go outside, is completely chaotic. And if you just drive 100 kilometers from here, they're completely peaceful places. And you can choose to stay there in very peaceful, completely organized places, or come here and live in chaos. I always choose chaos over regular because chaos is progress. So that chaos comes with the territory, and that's not a problem. But you have to be with your mission and vision.
I think that's a great answer. I think even like the early projects in crypto, they didn't have much to show for it. Like there was no market cap, etc. in those days, but they still be able to build these cult-like communities around them, around the vision of
It's
what.
completely crazy.
Right.
I found out Bitcoin in 2012, and the first one I got was at that time. Okay, and it was completely crazy. Grad students were saving money to buy Bitcoin at that point. Obviously, they were all selling it quickly also after every $100 gain. But it was I think it was completely crazy even then. Bitcoin was amazing.
Yeah, and these are all like social movements, right? It's not just about the money. I mean, of course, there's a huge part of capital associated with it, but you're changing social structure and how people think about particular directions. A lot of times people say a very important part of crypto is ideology. And as teams, we should, like you said, your mission and vision, right? So you should not let that ideology waver in terms of what you believe is the most important thing that your company should be doing. So I think that's really interesting. A question that crypto AI companies keep getting is like as we kind of compete in this broad world of AI, how do we think about positioning ourselves versus incumbent AI players, emerging just regular AI players? What are the vectors on which we can really compete, and not just on product quality, but also on these other paradigms? So how do you think about that at Sentient? And what advice did you give to other AI builders as well?
Right. So I think for us, we want to be the home to open source AI. We want to make sure that open source models exist and they are loyal. So today, Llama is doing bulk of lift for all of us. We should not miss that opportunity. It's very, as you said, it's probably one of the most expensive open source software artifact available publicly. And we should use that opportunity. We should build on it. We should create an ecosystem around it so that there is a viable alternative to OpenAI and Anthropic. The reason being that both these are closed source companies. There's always this thing about, especially OpenAI, right? Whatever you build on it, the next feature they have is exactly that. There's no reason to build anything on OpenAI. I don't know how many people have tried it. I mean, you were you were a VC before, so you know that half the pitches that you saw 2 years back are now dead.
There's a joke that every 6 months, OpenAI wipes out the previous YC batch.
Yeah, in fact, that's absolutely correct. You can take a look at the YC batch and see what their proposal was, what they were saying. So they basically are, they're not going to give away inch of space because they've raised too much capital and therefore world dominance. The good part of this situation is that it opens up the opportunity for the open source AI, where people can be more inclusive, can own it, can contribute their things, and they have to keep up the bar with this technology. That differentiation is going down right now with Llama. But even if Llama decides to close its open source models, which is, by the way, a very likely possibility, then that opens up another huge opportunity for another open source model. So even that is a great situation because there will be always an opportunity for an open source model. And because it's too important not to have it. And countries like India, for instance, all the countries, they want to start building on an open source model. So for us, that's where the opportunity is. And I would say that the harder part is to what Karan is pointing out is that, like, how do you keep up with their performance? And the magic there is that AI is not difficult to master, it's expensive to master. Every small experiment will cost you $50K, $100K, and there are too many things to try. So this is a very peculiar technology. Like if you have to train a model and try something very simple, all ideas are very simple, but does it work or not? So that's the kind of space. So I don't know, there's an art in here. I wish I would have mastered it, but we have had several setbacks in that. Recently, I would say that reasoning is one, I mean, just to admit a mistake, is that we went after models to bring in flow control in the models, this whole reasoning, multi-step reasoning. And that's a very hard problem to solve. So you try something, you burn your hands, then you move. You have to burn money in this kind of thing. This is for sure true. So you find your place where innovation that you can do is matched with the money that you have. And you have to play a little bit strategically there.
Yeah, I think like the parallel I would draw is basically AI is this blank canvas. Currently, we say that, oh, OpenAI has an MMLU score of XYZ, so it's the best. But that's like saying I'm going to let this doctor do heart surgery on me because his MBBS score was really good, right? So I think there's so much niche in terms of how deep you can go into particular categories, within those categories, subcategories. And if we believe that AI is going to be the next transition of software is effectively a $10+ trillion business, right? So even 1% of that is a $100 billion opportunity. So I think there's just so many markets that will be created which are net new. And oftentimes, if you think you're building in a market that's too small, especially in AI, I don't think you're thinking big enough, right? So the capex.
There might be a last mover advantage. This is one thing I feel about AI software. There may be a very good last mover advantage. When everyone has experimented, done everything, and frozen it, that's a great time to enter.
Yeah, let everyone else spend the money, then you come use their technology to build what's better. Yeah, I think, just on closing thoughts, I wanted to, switch gears a little bit and talk about the future, right? Saying that, one, what are the few projects and like experiments at Sentient that you guys are excited about? And broadly, like, what in this space are you looking forward to in 2025?
So we have already seen the social agents taking off. We are looking forward to more sophisticated AI interacting with each other rather than the singular experience that you get in something like OpenAI. I'm looking forward to a huge interactive multi-agent world and building that kind of AI. Personally, for us at Sentient, there are two tracks that we always follow. One is building great models. Second is making those models loyal. In terms of model loyalty, the first thing that we have is what we call fingerprints. Fingerprints are these secret queries that you can embed in the model, and you can use them to have an identity of the model in the model. So our idea is that if you don't see your fingerprints in your model, that's not your model, because this is some unfamiliar model which you're interacting with. So the analogy I have is that, uh, you get all these calls, this sort of money stealing calls in India, and you can tell your mother that if I call you and I'm asking for money, it sounds like me. This is a secret phrase you should use. And if this answer comes out, then it's me, otherwise I'm not. A similar experience you would want to have with the AI agent and AI that you are interacting with. And these are these fingerprints which are sitting in that model, the model that you have been interacting with, and the model that is tied to the legal guardrails that you are free to interact with. Okay, so this is the fingerprint is the first thing. There are various versions of fingerprint, building from just ownership will go to control of the model and such things. So that's one track. On the model improvement track, uh, that's a huge canvas of things. As you know, that everyone knows those pain points for open source models. Starting with structured output. Structured output is a big deal. I wish there's a Llama version which gives great structured output. 70B is okay, I think, but still that's a big deal. You can do some jugaad and make that happen, but still. The other thing which everyone is looking at is this multi-step reasoning. It's a very hard problem. If you look at O1, O1 did not go for multi-step reasoning. At the heart of it, O1 went for just this chain of thought, which is not multi-step reasoning. But I don't know if you've tried to play around with ChatGPT and given it a math problem and see how it solves it. There is some beauty there, like it decides which approach to take, and usually it goes for a multi-step reasoning framework. Those are very difficult things to do with model. And those are the kind of things which we would like to see in open source models. If Llama 4 solves, essentially the broad idea here is make models, the original models were not designed for this agentic world. They were designed as a knowledge base of language. And it's a little bit spectacular that people started using them to control this software itself in the agentic world. So the improving open source models for the agentic world is the target for us. I'm sure you are also looking at similar things.
Yeah, I think very philosophically, you're right? Like a lot of these models are basically glorified pattern matchers. They're built for translation activities, and it just happens to be that you can translate everything into everything, right? Which is why they were called language models in the first place. I think in an agentic world, the framing that we have and a lot of people have is you're effectively building digital, like living beings. And living beings have a lot of things that models don't have. They have context, they have memory, they have the ability to use tools. You have to be able to decide what type of output and what structure you need to put it out in. And you have to have the model and all these systems be able to decide what directions to take in what circumstances. So these are all hard problems, but I'm very optimistic, at least in the next year, that you see in some narrow use cases, like, for example, this very simple idea of social agents, right? There's nothing at stake here. You're basically having a model that's trained to shitpost on Twitter. No one really cares if that actual model is connected or some humans doing it at the back end. But now if you give a model 100K and say trade on my behalf, right? That's a much harder risk to take, because now you're saying there's a high tail risk that if something goes wrong, then the money's out. So a broad thesis we have is the cat's out of the bag, right? Pandora's box is open. Agents have captured the imagination of what is potentially possible. Now it's going to be important to see how, step by step, each of these hard problems are solved and unlock additional dimensions of what they're capable of.